Supabase 2.0 is here, so why not revisit some Supabase functions, like email verification? Thanks to all the comments on my previous video, I was able to improve on this newest version, like making it work for both mobile and web, while also implementing improvements to the error handling process and overall user experience as well. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it right now! Alright, so before we begin with the tutorial, let me go over some prerequisites that you need to have in order to follow along with this tutorial. So firstly, you will need to have a FlutterFlow project over here with a register page. You can set up a register page very easily with FlutterFlow's pre-made templates over here. So you can choose one of those if you don't already have one. And secondly, you also need to have a Supabase project which is linked to your FlutterFlow project. So if I go to settings and integrations, you can see that I've already linked up my Supabase project with this FlutterFlow project. And you would have had set up your authentication with Supabase over here. And one last thing that you need to have is you need to have set up a custom SMTP in Supabase. So if I go to project settings and I go to authentication, I scroll down, you can see that I've already enabled my custom SMTP over here. If you don't already have a custom SMTP set up with Supabase, be sure to click on this video where I teach you how to do so with Resend. So be sure to set up a custom SMTP. If not, Supabase will not be able to send emails to your users. Right, so if you have all of these three things, then you're all set and ready to follow along with this tutorial. So let's get into it right now. Alright, so if you're following along with this tutorial from my Instagram clone series, then you need to do some sort of shifting of the pages so that we can make the whole workflow work properly, because previously there were some problems with the authentication and onboarding workflow. But if you have your own app, then just skip to this timestamp over here, as you don't need to do all of these. Alright, so those from my Instagram clone series, the thing that we have to change is our onboarding page. So previously, our onboarding page consists of 3 separate pages, and the thing that we want to shift is our create account page. So here we no longer want to create our account here. So let's actually just go ahead and remove this create account page. And now for our secondary details page. So after the user clicks on next, then the user would have entered their account details and they will automatically be navigated to the home page. So for our next button over here, we'll click on this. We'll first validate the form, and now instead of doing the page view over here, we'll delete this action. We'll add a new action, and now we want to insert a row in Supabase. The table that we want to choose is our user data table. So we need to set all of these fields right here. So first, for the user ID, the user will have to confirm and verify their email before they are able to be brought to this onboarding page to enter their user details. So we will already have access to the authenticated user's user ID, and that's where we'll get it. So we'll go to authenticated user ID. For created at, we can just leave that blank, since in our Supabase table, it automatically fills in this date time for us. For the username, we'll just choose widget state and username text field. For our bio, we'll choose under widget state once more and our bio text field. And the same goes for our profile pic, gender, and pronouns as well. So they're all found under widget state. Uploaded for our URL. For our gender, it will be under widget state, gender dropdown, and last but not least for our pronouns, it will be under widget state, pronouns text field. And after we insert the user data into our user data table, the last thing that we want to do is to navigate to our home page. Seems like we're missing something over here. And that's because we forgot to remove this created app view. So once you remove that, the error should be gone. And one more thing that we have to check is in settings and integrations, under authentication, you can see that when we log in, we are automatically navigated to our home page. So in our home page itself, in our root of our home page, we actually have to do a check when the page first loads. So on page load, we'll add an action and we'll search for Supabase query rows, and we'll query our user data row. For the filter, we'll query where our user ID is equal to our authenticated user's user ID. We'll give it an action output variable of current user. And then we want to check. We'll just search for action output current user row, and we can just give it the option is set not empty. So if there is a current user row, that means the user has already entered their user details. So if the user has already entered the user details, that means they no longer have to onboard, and we can just leave it as nothing. But if the user has not entered their details, then we want to navigate to our onboarding page right here. For the transition type, we can just put it as instant for now, and we do not want to allow back navigation. Alright, so that's the short fix that we have to do for those of you following through with my Instagram clone tutorial. Now we can get on to actually implementing the verify email and confirm email functionalities. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to custom code, and you can see that over here I've already inserted this custom sign up action. I've already put a link down in the YouTube description linking to my GitHub for you to copy this custom sign up action code. For those of you interested, let me briefly explain what is going on with this code. So this custom action over here, this custom sign up action, takes in a few parameters. Firstly is this email argument over here, which is the email of the user. Next is the password and the confirm password. So these are all very standard for this registration. But we do have this additional parameter over here, which is an optional string parameter redirect to. So this redirect to parameter is important as we need to pass it in order for Supabase to know where we want to redirect our users to once they click on the confirmation link in our email. So in this case, we always want to redirect back to our app. Alright, so in the body of the function, we will first instantiate the Supabase client so that we are able to use Supabase's built-in functions and functionality. Then we want to do a check to check if the password is equal to the confirm password. So if it is, then we want to try to sign up a new user using Supabase's supabase.auth.signup function over here. And we pass in our email, our password, as well as our redirect to string. Then if it was successful, it will return an auth response object where we can use it to get out the user data. And we will just print the user for debugging purposes. This is not very important. But this part is important as we want to check if the user has been created before. So this condition basically checks if the user has been created before, and if this is true, we want to return this error for the user has already been registered. If not, we want to return null over here, meaning that no errors occurred with our supabase.auth.signup function. And if any other errors occurred, then we want to catch those errors and we just return the errors so that we can show these errors to our users so that they know what went wrong. Alright, so yeah, that's the basic breakdown of our custom sign up action over here. Let me just save it. And once you have this over here, we can just go back to our widget tree. Alright, future Joel here. Please note that if you're copying the code from the GitHub and you notice that this statement over here has changed, please note that this change was intentional to be updated with FlutterFlow, as there were some errors previously with the way that we were checking whether the user was created. Note that this change was intentional, and any discrepancies with the video, please follow this one instead. Please follow the code from the GitHub. Alright, so the next step over here is to actually implement the custom action in our app. So first, let's go to our register page, and when the user clicks on create account, you want to open the action flow editor. And you can see I have this auth create account action, which is already built in with FlutterFlow, but that's not what we want, so we'll just delete this action over here. Then let's go ahead and add a new action, and we want to search for our own custom action, our custom sign up action. We'll pass the email from our widget state, email text field. Our password will be from our widget state, password text field. And last but not least, our confirm password will be from our widget state, our confirm password text field. Now for this redirect to URL, we actually want to redirect our users to our onboarding page over here. Since right after the user creates a new account, we want them to enter their user details. But where can we find this URL to our onboarding page? Well, we can go to settings and integrations over here, and it will be different if you are doing a web project or a mobile app project. So let me just cover the web project first. So if you're doing web, make sure to go to platforms and make sure that web is enabled over here. And you also have to go to web deployment and make sure that you have deployed your app. You can see that I've not deployed this application on the web yet, so I'll just go ahead and publish it. Note that this takes quite a lot of time, so I'll see you when it has finished publishing. Alright, so after a couple of minutes, you should see that your application should have been successfully deployed on the web. And you can see that now it's live on this link over here. Now, what you want to do in order to link back to your onboarding page is you want to click on this site URL over here. And you want to copy this site URL, go back to your widget tree, go back to the register page, and in the create account button, you want to pass this string over here. But this URL is not enough. This URL will redirect back to our home page. So that's not what we want. Instead, we want to redirect to our onboarding page. So go to your onboarding page or the page that you want to redirect back to. If you don't have an onboarding page, you can simply redirect back to your home page. So for the onboarding page, I want to look at this route settings over here and take note of this route settings. We would then want to copy this route, copy this, and then I'll go back to my register page under the create account button. After our site URL, you want to add a /, then we'll paste that route over here. So now we close it, and now whenever we click on this button, we are sending this redirect to route to our Supabase function. Alright, so that should be it for the FlutterFlow side. Now, the last step of this process is to configure our Supabase project to be able to handle sending the verification email. So in our Supabase project, we need to do some configuration over here. So under authentication, we first have to go to providers, and under the email provider, make sure that this confirm email toggle is enabled. If this is not, then it won't work. So make sure that it's enabled, and don't forget to click on save over here. Alright, so once we have configured our auth provider, the next thing to do is to configure our URL configuration over here. So this site URL was the same one that I taught you how to do just now. So it is found in app settings and integration, and under web deployment, we just copy this site URL and we paste it here. So then we click on save, and we have updated our site URL. Now this is where we have to add our redirect URLs as well. So if this sounds familiar, that is because we passed it in our redirect to parameter. However, we also need to specify it here in our Supabase project so that Supabase knows exactly which URLs are safe to redirect our users to. So you can see that over here I already have some of these over here. Let me just delete these. And now we want to add a new redirect URL. So the redirect URL for web is exactly the same one as we passed into our redirect to parameter over here. So let me just copy this and I'll paste it over here. Then we'll save this redirect to URL. Alright, yep. And one last thing that we have to configure is our email templates over here. So in your email template, make sure that you choose this confirm sign up option. You have many others like invite user, magic link, reset password. If you have already seen my reset password tutorial, then you know what I'm talking about. But for this, in this case, we want to select our confirm sign up option. So there are some things that you can change in this email, like the subject heading. You can change the message body over here. You can click on this preview tab to get a quick glance of what the email will look like to your users. Alright, but now we're over here. And in this confirm email, I've already changed this section over here. So this is the link that we are showing to our users. Alright, but let me very quickly show you how to make this link. So this link consists of this first part, which is your Supabase project URL. So where you can find that? Well, you can find that from your project settings, go to API, and you need to copy this project URL. So I'll just copy this, go back to authentication under email templates, and let me just paste it here for you. So you need this first part, which will consist of your project URL, which is unique to your project. Next, you add a /, then you type in auth/v1/verify $token is equal to curly brackets space dot token hash, just like this. So this token is basically the token that Supabase provides and passes so that our users can actually authenticate with Supabase. Then we'll type in end type is equal to sign up. This just tells Supabase that we are doing a registering our new user action. And then we'll type in n redirect _2 is equal to curly brackets dot redirect to space. So this is the link that you need to achieve. And this redirect to link is the one that we've passed from our Supabase function, our custom signup action in FlutterFlow. So it's this link right here. Right, so let me just delete this. And yep, after this, you can customize the email or any way you want, but make sure that you have this link exactly the way it is, like that. And don't forget to put your own Supabase URL over here. If not, it would not work. Alright, so we click on save. And yep, that is all you have to do for your web application for confirmation emails. Now let's say you also want to host a mobile application using the same Supabase project and the same FlutterFlow project. Well, what can you do then? Okay, so for my mobile app users over here, my mobile app creators actually, all the previous steps would be the same, such as the custom code, the custom action will be the same. For your Supabase, you also need to enable confirm email under the providers, except that now our site URL and our redirect URL will be different. So if you're just doing mobile apps, then you can find your site URL in settings and integrations under app details, and we scroll down all the way to this URL scheme over here. So this will be our site URL. So if I copy this and I go over here, if I want to do a mobile application, solely a mobile application, I replace it with this, then we copy this :// and then I'll give it the rest of the site URL. So this will be the site URL to our mobile app instead. And then for the redirect URL, we also have to change it. So for the redirect URL, it will simply just be that same site URL first. So it'll be this, followed by : / and then the remainder of our URL over here. And then don't forget to link to the specific page that you want to link after the user sign up. So in our case, we want to go to our onboarding page. Then we also have to copy this root over here. So after that, add a /, then put in the root. So this will be the site URL for my mobile app creators. And then for mobile app users as well, you also have to change the register page, the redirect to parameter passed into this custom signup action. So instead of this redirect to URL, we want to copy this, and then we'll just replace it over here. So this will basically redirect back to the mobile application. Yep, and then for your email templates, it'll be completely the same, so don't worry about that. Now let's say, what if you want to have both mobile application as well as deploy a web application using the exact same FlutterFlow project as well as the same Supabase project, so that it saves on resources. Now, can that be done? Well, absolutely. Let's see how we can do it now. So for a redirect to URLs, make sure that you have both of them over here. So make sure that you have both of them, for one for mobile applications and one for Supabase, the web applications. For the site URL, usually I just put it as my web application site URL because that makes it simpler. But so if I just go to web deployment, I just copy my web site URL again. So copy this, then I'll just replace it for now. Oops. Save this. And then now something that we have to change is we have to change how our action over here works. So instead of just doing this sign up, we'll just delete this for now. Instead of that, we want to add a conditional action. And we first want to do a check to check which platform the user is currently on. So we don't have to do a single condition. We can just go to global properties. And if we scroll down, we can see that there are some options over here. So we can just do a check whether the user is on the web. So if the user is on web, then we want to do our custom sign up action. We'll pass in the same values over here. So widget states, email, widget state password, and for the confirm password will be widget state password confirm text field. Then for this redirect to string, you want to pass the link to our onboarding page on the web. So paste that there. And now we can copy this action and actually go ahead and paste it over here. But now we know that this is for our mobile application. So instead of this redirect to string, we'll use the one for our mobile application. Oh, and I just realized that one more thing that we should do is actually handle the errors if there are any over here. So after our custom signup action, or inside our custom signup action, we actually should give it an action output variable name of error. So let me just do the one for the web. So now we should add a conditional action. And we need to add a single condition to check if our error action output is set and not empty. So if there is an error, that means something went wrong with the process, and we want to show it to our users, so we can give it an informational dialog. So for the title, we can just give it an error occurred. Then for the message itself, we'll just give it our error action output. Yep, so let's also consider the case when there is no error. If there's no error, that means the workflow, this custom signup action was successfully implemented and the confirmational email was sent. But we also want to alert the user that the confirmational email was sent. So we'll also add an informational dialog over here. For the title, we can give it user successfully created. Please check your email for verification. Okay, so yep, now we can just take this conditional action and we'll paste this over here for our mobile site. For the mobile site, you also need to add an action output variable name. So I'll give it error mobile because you can't have the same action output variable name. And then over here in the condition, you also have to change these to error mobile. So confirm. Then for the dialog over here, the error dialog, we also have to change this to error mobile. Right, great. So if you're not doing multiple platforms, then you only need to have this workflow over here. You don't need to do this additional check as well as this additional sign up for mobile and web. Oh, and one more thing that I forgot to do actually for those following my Instagram clone tutorial is that we first have to go to our login page, and remember when we click on this register here action, the action is still to navigate to our onboarding page. So let's just quickly change that to our register page instead, since we made some changes just now. Alright, so testmatch just loaded up. Let's go ahead and try registering for a new account. Let's give it an email. Make sure that this is an email that you have access to. Let's give it a password, and let's try the case where the passwords do not match at first. You can see that an error pops up over here saying that the passwords do not match. Now let's try creating an account. After some time of loading, you can see that the success message shows up over here, user successfully created. If we go into our Supabase dashboard and we reload our users table under authentication, you can see that indeed a new user has been inserted over here. And you can see that under last sign in, you can see they're still waiting for verification. So we click on OK, and let's see what happens when we try to sign in with that user that we have just created. You can see that an error email over here shows up, error email not confirmed. Alright, then what happens if we try to do the same thing again? We register for the same user. Over here, you can see that we have a new error over here. Of exception, for security purposes, you can only request this after 5 seconds. This is because Supabase has a built-in request limit, which limits the number of times you can request for an email to be sent. So this ensures that the users do not spam your email or spam your Supabase SMTP provider, so that you do not incur a lot of cost. Alright, so now that we have created our user and verified the user as well, let's just check one more thing. So we register a new user. Let's just use that same user. Let's try to register that same user again. And note what happens now. You can see that now it pops out an error where the user has already been registered. Now let's go and check our email inbox. You can see that there's this email over here. If we click on the link, we are now brought to our onboarding page for our web application. And now we can go ahead and continue signing in. So let's just create a user very quickly. And now we are brought to the home page over here. Nice. If we go back to our Supabase dashboard over here and reload our user data table, or our users table under authentication, you can see that for our newly added user, we have signed in, and now we are no longer awaiting verification. When we try to sign in, you can see that now it works over here. So very great. It shows that everything works well. Now that you have email verification in your app, why not implement a forgot and reset password function in your application as well? If you'd like to learn how to implement this in your app, check out this video. You don't want to miss it.